Greetings, everyone. This is Corinne McKay welcoming you to episode 16 of the Training for Translators podcast, where we're going to focus on how to get back on the marketing wagon after you have fallen off. But first, a little bit of self-promotion. I recently published a new book about a month ago. My latest book, Getting Started as a Freelance Interpreter, came out, and I'm very excited about all the positive reviews that it has been getting, with a lot of experienced interpreters saying that this is the book they wish had existed when they started interpreting. So you can purchase your very own copy on any online marketplace, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, or you can go directly to my website, trainingfortranslators.com, and under the resource store tab, you will find a bookshop link. And right there, you can get the print or electronic editions. The electronic edition is only $10, and I hope you'll find it helpful if you buy your very own copy. Now on to this episode's topic. We have all been in this situation. Every freelancer does this. I was working consistently on my marketing. I was doing so great. And then something happens. Now, lately in this very uncertain economy, I've been talking to a lot of freelancers who end up in this situation. They land a huge project, whether it's translation or interpreting, that leaves them with almost no time for the activities of daily life, much less for marketing. Now, I don't think that this is the wrong decision. If you're offered a big, juicy project, I think especially right now in this economy, you should probably take it. But the problem is that then you come back to your regular work and you think, oh no, I was in this great marketing routine and now I haven't done anything in like a month or more, and it feels so overwhelming to get going again. So how do we address this in a way that feels manageable for us, but that also gets the job done? I think it's important to pause here for a truth. There is a lot of fear and panic in the freelance world right now, and I honestly have said several times on LinkedIn and other forums, I'm not even sure that AI is the worst of it. I think if you work here in the US, we have the federal government budget cuts, the near elimination of the US Agency for International Development, a lot of uncertainty about what the cuts at the US State Department are going to mean for translators and interpreters who work for them, and a huge amount of question marks about what these English-only laws may do in general to the federal government mandate for interpreting in places like schools, courts, and hospitals. And yet, everyone I know, and by that I really mean everyone who is marketing assertively, is still finding really good work. The good work is out there. And I've talked to a really fair number of freelancers who are having their best years yet, which, for the record, so am I. I was going to do that episode today, but I decided to let that sit for a little bit and talk about this other topic. But I, too, am not only on track for my best year yet, but to hit an income goal that I had set back in 2021 and have never been able to get to. I do agree that it is a good time to capitalize on those big projects when they come your way, because to be honest, that's what I've been doing, is that I've just had some kind of windfall work that I couldn't say no to. And sometimes those projects are so big that your well-established marketing routine just flies out the window. Not if, when this happens to you and you fall off the marketing wagon, I have a few ideas for you to get back in the groove. And I think that you can also apply these to creating any sort of routine in your life, not just marketing. I'm going to talk in this episode, because it's in the blog post that the episode is based on how I apply this to music practice in my life. So I think that the most important factor to me is mindset, which is that when this happens, you feel like you're back at square one, but you aren't. This applies to many, many things in life when you're on a roll and you lose momentum. The truth is that it feels like you're back at the bottom of the hill, but you really aren't because you have a lot more skills and knowledge than when you first started out. So, when someone in my marketing challenge group asked this question, here's the example I gave her. If I told you, a freelancer with some experience, you know what? Here's what I would do to get back on the marketing wagon. I would nudge one dormant client and then I would call it good. I would stop there. You, the freelancer with some experience, know exactly what that means and how to do it. It probably won't take more than 10 minutes because you really aren't at square one. You have at least some dormant clients. You know what I mean by nudging a dormant client. You've done it before. Whereas someone who is really, really at square one doesn't have any dormant clients. They don't know what I mean by the nudge email. Who do I send it to? What do I say? So start there. Tell yourself, you know what? This feels like I'm back to the beginning of the journey, and I really am not. I know a lot more and I know how to do a lot more than when I was a true beginner. Next, and it's rare that I say this, but I think it's important. Set your expectations really low. I know that sounds nuts, but I think you set yourself up for even more disappointment and feeling worse about yourself. And really, who needs that? I think the low expectations are key because if you set your expectations too high the first time that you dip back into marketing, I think that you're going to be disappointed. Now, here is my crossover example with music practice. Recently, I was on a streak of practicing the cello every day. I had played cello for, I think, 15 days in a row, whereas I'm usually practicing more like 3 to 4 times a week. Then I took a vacation. The vacation was fantastic. I went to Fiji, and I'll write a blog post about that too when I have time. When I got back, I just knew that I would be setting myself up for a huge disappointment if I pulled out like a really hard piece that I had been working on before I left for vacation. Instead, here's what I did. I got out a book of very easy warm-up exercises, and I just basically played scales and warm-up exercises for 15 minutes. And you know what? Instead of feeling like, ugh, I'm so discouraged, I'm so disappointed, it actually felt great. It felt really good to just hold my cello again. It felt fun to play because I expected very little of that practice session. All I was trying to do was get back in the routine by doing something. Next, here's what I would do. Start with that smallest possible action. Nudge one dormant client. Apply to one agency. Comment on one client's LinkedIn post and then build from there. I think the most important thing is don't start out with some crazy, huge, multi-step marketing campaign right now. Don't tell yourself like, well, my real goal for this quarter of the year is to work with some local immigration law firms. But before I do that, they're going to want me to be ATA certified. So I have to pass the ATA certification test. So my husband, who works in IT, often uses a tech expression, which is the tyranny of the sub-goal, meaning that you are not held back by the marketing campaign, you're held back by what you perceive that you need to do before the marketing campaign even starts. Don't fall for it. Don't let yourself get sucked into the sub-goal. Take the smallest possible action and get the ball rolling. You are struggling with this. There are 3 tips that I would give you. Number 1, reassure yourself that it feels like you're at square one, but you aren't. Next, set a low expectation. And finally, start with something really small and manageable and just stop there so that you have like that feeling of success that I had from playing scales on my cello. Okay, I hope that these tips are helpful. And as always, you can visit my website, trainingfortranslators.com, to read more than 1,000 free posts on my blog or check out my book and online course offerings. The podcast is hosted by me, Corinne McKay. I use a Shure MV7 Plus microphone to record it, and I edit it in Audacity. It's hosted technologically on Libsyn, and I'll talk to you in a future episode.